Okay, hello, Soul Warriors. Today we have someone so super exciting on the show, and if you somehow don't already know her, you're going to love her. Gabby Bernstein. Hey, Gabby.
Woo! I love that you introduced me as Gabrielle Gabby because I'm having an identity crisis. I don't know what my name is.
I was just going to ask, what should we call you?
Whatever you want.
I love Gabby, but Gabrielle, just
Gabby,
in case.
I think Gabby's where I'm going.
What does your book say? Oh, it says Gabrielle Bernstein.
Yeah, they say Gabrielle.
It's a marketing snafu there.
You cannot be named.
It's only really an SEO issue.
Nice.
So, Gabby, I wanted to start off, and you've come a long way. Just before we started this call, we were talking about how you are almost 10 years in sobriety and recovery. And, I know you talk about this a lot, but could you just sort of bring us to sort of the darkness that you went through and how that has given way to this light part of your life?
Yeah, it's funny because I whenever I'm coming up on an anniversary of my sobriety, I'm always strangely asked to recall where I was, which is exactly what you need when you put some time together sober, because you really need to remember where you were so that you don't go back. And so I'm weeks away from my 10-year anniversary, which is just a decade of greatness, a decade of survival and recovery. And 10 years ago, I was running a PR business in Manhattan representing nightclubs. I was living in a studio apartment on the ground floor of a New York City block with the garbage cans outside my window, and just miserable, bankrupt, spiritually and emotionally bankrupt, just totally without any sense of interconnectedness, lack of inspiration. Addicted to drugs and alcohol, addicted to work, addicted to relationships. And I got there just because I hooked into the belief systems of the world that we all, in our own unique ways, tend to do. I also have a very addictive nature. When really aligned with something great, creates miraculous things. But when it was aligned with low vibe experiences and actions, it created a very dark bottom for me. But a bottom that was the catalyst for my greatest spiritual awakening and my path that I have chosen today. So I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for my drug addiction and all my other addictions and that behavior, because it brought me to my knees and it showed me the dark side so that I can speak to that side of things and the side of our being in a very authentic way, because I know it intimately. And it also helped me hit my knees hard enough so that I could crack open and wake up to the truth of who I am. I feel very blessed to have had that experience. So I got sober 10 years ago on October 2nd of 2005. And
Woo! Almost exactly 10 years. Wow.
Yeah. And it, and it also was the catalyst, not just for me to get sober, but it was getting spiritual, reconnecting to my spiritual roots, reconnecting to a faith that was taught to me as a child through my mother, reconnecting to a meditation practice, and establishing myself and deciding to be a leader and a voice for a new generation of seekers. And 10 years ago, that's when this all began. And that's been the path that I've taken, is to not be silent about what I believe in.
And I want to talk about this, being a leader and a voice for other people, because that's exactly what you are now, and it's amazing to see how far you've come. But first, I'm wondering, because my dad, he's a recovering alcoholic, and I think it's interesting how addicts deal with it differently, in a sense. And I'm wondering if you still feel like you're fighting it in some sense, or what you've become into now, you don't even think about it anymore.
I'm not fighting the desire to drink or pick up a drug. In fact, that's very horrifying to me, because I'm so conscious today of how my nervous system is. And I'm aware of if I've had too much coffee, I will, now I have half decaf, half regular, because I'm I don't want to shock myself. Right. So I don't have a desire or a temptation to pick up a drink or a drug, but I still have the alcoholic behaviors in me and the addictive behaviors, because I'm still in recovery. I mean, 10 years in my recovery program, people might say that you're very young in your recovery after 10 years. And so I still witness my addictive behavior on a moment-to-moment basis, whether it becomes, addicted to just like the high of life. And I have to work really hard to balance my energy to coexist with the speed with which I want to move. And so, like I said earlier, it's not that my addictive behavior is necessarily a bad thing, because when you have that type of energy and you channel it for something great, it creates a force beyond all things that you could imagine. But with that, you have to have a sustainable field and a sustainable energy. So I am in a bit of a dance. And the way that I don't go to extremes in that dance is through meditation, is through daily committed sadhana. And through that daily practice of spiritual principles and a daily practice of meditation, I have a much greater chance of maintaining some type of sustainable energy in the midst of my addictive behavior.
It makes me think of something that I think I heard you say this in another interview, maybe around the time that you were about to release your book Miracles Now, that you had a lot of deadlines coming up and a lot on your to-do list. And the longer that the to-do list got, the more you knew that you needed to go into your sadhana and into your meditation. And then I was wondering, I was like, because I've been really busy lately myself, and I know you've got a lot going on. And I'm like, does she actually do that? But like, how do you have the time? So could you talk about that idea of like the expansiveness of time, and how the hell do you do it?
I'm laughing my ass off because you're like, oh, in this interview for May Cause Miracles, and I'm like dating it back. I'm like, okay, that was probably in 2012 or 13. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, and I'm still saying the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
It's just that I have so much on my plate. And yesterday, my friend texted me, she's like, are you okay? I'm like, I just have so much going on. She's like, when do you not? All that's by choice, right? All of that's by choice. I could absolutely go take a 6-month sabbatical right now and stop working and just go on an island and do nothing. And I've worked so hard that I've created a life that I can do that. And it's a blessing, but I still choose not to. So, you have the right job when you work your ass up and you don't have to.
Right, and it doesn't feel like work in some ways.
It's not work. It's my mission.
Right.
And the things that I am doing are not about like, paying bills or keeping things going. They're about fulfilling a mission. And I think when you get that, that's when the bills start to get paid on your behalf, and just stuff it gets taken care of when you sort of make that shift for yourself. That's also 10 years of hard work to get to a place where that's that's the practical truth of it all. But the intention of what it is that I have every day is a constant opportunity to decide between. And when I say that, I mean like an opportunity to share something that I care about, or an opportunity to stay silent. And so rather than seeing it as a to-do list, I see it as an opportunity list. And in that flow of things, it's a chance to share, it's a chance to elevate, it's a chance to be real, it's a chance to have fun. But it's a lot of energy. It's not a lot of I don't want to call it work, because I like it.
Well, and being a leader requires a lot of energy,
Yeah, I think that anyone that we may look at as a leader in our lives, I think they worked hard to get there. Like I've been talking a lot about my mentor and friend, Dr. Wayne Dyer, who passed away 2 weeks ago. And a lot of things have been happening to me lately. Things like, whether or not I was going to say yes to a talk, or whether or not we were going to ship a book to, Sweden when it cost a lot of money, like, $100 to UPS or whatever. And I keep saying like, Wayne would do it. Wayne would do it. And so when you have those powers of example that that, in his later years, he was able to, well, actually, he didn't really slow down. The week before he died, he was in Australia giving a talk. Right. So, I know that that's the commitment that I've made. And I think about Wayne when I'm questioning whether or not something, is a yes or not, because of whether or not it's convenient for me. Yeah. Because maybe it's not always extremely convenient for me, but it's going to save someone in the message that they hear. So, or the book they receive.
Well, and I love where you are now, because when I first encountered you, it was through your book, Spirit Junkie. And one of the things that really hit me was your whole discussion about idols. So creating idols out of people. And, you know, we've had people like Deepak and Marianne on, who I know have inspired you and influenced you. And so, and let me just read this quote from you because I love it. Without knowing where to find that true source, one will keep searching for it in all kinds of people, hoping to find the one. But when I reconnect to the work, I remember that the light I see in her, which is Marianne, is a reflection of the light I see in me. And I love that. And
so good.
And now you're becoming that for other people, where maybe people are looking at you like you're an idol. So let's start talking about, like, what holds us back from being leaders in the world, or how do you actually be your own leader in this world?
Well, first of all, I have like a full body chills because I don't read my books back. I just write them and get them out into the world, and then I'm like, okay, bye, next book. And part of that's just because that's how I create. I just do. I'm just ready to do more.
Yeah.
I don't sit and like read my books, and so when I hear words back that I had written in 2010, it's awesome. So thank you. That was cool.
You're welcome.
I think that the lesson of creating an idol, first of all, our ego, our human behavior is to make an idol of another person. So it's going to happen. You're going to have that romantic partner where you're like, you are God and without you I die. And, or you're going to have that person like Deepak Chopra or Marianne Williamson where you're like, you have changed my life. I can't help but make you an idol. And the one thing I can say from experience is that a genuine relationship can be created when you release that idol separation. Because in my friendship with Marianne is a great example. My capacity to choose to see her as an equal and choose to see that the light I see in her is my light, and that even though I admire her and owe my marriage to her, and I really do. I mean, my marriage is a result of Marianne. I wouldn't be with my husband if it were not for the lessons that I learned from Marianne when I was in my 20s. And it created a space where she could feel equality too, because when you create separation, it makes the other person feel that separation, and in effect, it doesn't allow for a genuine connection to occur. And so my friendship with Marianne today is really rooted in a sense of oneness, because as much respect and admiration as I have for her, I feel she has for me, and really I just have ultimately been able to now call her a friend, and that's a blessing. And I think that friendship and true connection, true friendship can happen when you release the boundaries of separation and when you no longer make idols. But it's tough. I sat with Deepak a month or two ago at the Chopra Center. I was in his office and he was like giving me some counseling, and and I sat there and I was like, Deepak, I love you so much.
You should hear our interview. We're like laughing like little schoolgirls, like everything he says. We're like, oh my God.
And I remember one point I said something to him, and it was interesting, and I'm glad that I was able to really explain to him what I meant. But I said to him, like, there's a 12-step motto that says, if you want what they have, do what they do. And it doesn't mean like if you want his money or his success or his books titles, it's you want his peace. And so I remember saying to him, like if you want what they have, do what they do. And at first he was like, whoa. And I said, no, I want your peace of mind. That's what I mean. I'm not saying I don't need any more. I'm great. I feel like so fulfilled, but I want your peace of mind. That's what I need. That's what I want. And I said, so do what you do. I'm using the mantra you gave me today. You know what I mean? I'm gonna sit in my meditation as committed as I know I can, because that's how you do what you do. Right. I'm going to maintain a sense of health and serenity. And so that was what I wanted, and that's what I was able to express, was that when in his presence, what I want most is not his successes and his 80 book titles and his ease with which he gets onto stage. None of that matters to me at all. That's his. That's a reflection of his internal condition. What I want when I see him is I want his peace of mind. I want that sustainable energy. This is a man who travels, 300 days out of the year. And I don't necessarily want that, but I want to be able to have the option to do that because I have so much grace.
There was something funny that really happened an hour after we interviewed him at the Deepak home base. is I was meeting with somebody afterwards, and then he came walking down the street like an hour after our interview, and he had his hands in his pockets, and he was walking so slow. He was meandering, and he was taking in the buildings around him, and he was just really receiving all of the energy of the city, and that calm in him just so amazed me. I was like, whoa.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you've experienced it firsthand, which is that this is a man who does so much, but so much is done around him, right? And I don't mean that because he has like good people working for him. I mean like he's got a direct line to God because he's in it, and he can shoot out 1,000 emails but still be taking in what's happening, and that's a reflection of his meditation practice. And so that's a real leader, in my opinion.
Yeah. Which is like the most beautiful thing that you just said. That's who a real leader is, in your opinion, because that's something that SoulFeed has definitely given me, and I feel like Alex too, is the opportunity to talk to so many amazing people who I previously had idolized, was making total separation. Right. And this opportunity and these conversations have totally allowed me to just realize that we're human beings, and we're all beings,
and it's work, it's like I teach this stuff, it's in my books, and I'm sitting in Deepak's office like, Deepak,
Right.
So it's like, it's work. It's not, we're not, and it's also not to say that you can't admire people. It doesn't mean that you can't admire someone and that you can't, look up to someone and be grateful for them. And none of that is, you don't take any of that away.
Yeah.
It's just about really just recognizing we are all the same. We all have the decision-making part of our mind that chooses chaos and discomfort and separation. And we all have the decision-making part of our mind that chooses love and oneness and surrender, right? So that is what is the same about every single being. And so if we can just recognize that we're just all in the same decision-making process on a moment-to-moment basis, and those of us that choose that loving mindset are the ones that are enjoying the flow, we can see that we're really the same.
It's so good. That's so good.
Well, we'll just end it right there. That's good. No, but we actually have an exciting thing to announce to all you Soul Warriors out there, which is that Gabby has actually allowed us to kind of partner with her and help her spread her message and spread her light. So Gabby, share with us a little bit about this training for our Soul Warriors.
So this is something that I think is the best use of me. This is the best way that spirit, energy, God, whatever you believe in is using me at this time, which is that I had such a strong hit that I needed to not just empower people to heal on an individual level, but I had a commitment and a mission to teach people to teach, to train trainers, to elevate leaders, to help people gain the confidence to accept that the great personal growth and spiritual tools that they may be applying to their own life is something that they have the worthiness of sharing. And not only the worthiness, but the responsibility of sharing. Because when you wake up, it is your responsibility to share those messages with others. I feel a lot of people have a lot of limiting stories within them that say, I'm not good enough to share this, I'm not good enough to be a leader, I'm not good enough to serve in any way. And I want to bust that myth. So I created a 3-video series, a training series, and it's 3 free videos on how to be an authentic leader and own the confidence that you have an empowering message to share with the world and that you are a light worker in your own unique and individual way. There's another video for folks who want to turn that into their profit center, for anyone that feels like they've got these great messages and they want to share them and they want to feel the confidence to be able to earn with their great work. And so it may be someone who's had that blog for years and is now ready to start to turn that blog into a business, or someone who's maybe been coaching people because they've been supporting everybody in their life, but now they're ready to actually become a life coach and want to share these messages. Or it could be the person that's in a career transition that's like, I feel like I'm really aligned with my spiritual practices and I don't really feel connected to this job that I'm in anymore. And I feel like I need to make a career move where I'm doing something that's more aligned with my mindful beliefs. And so the second video is really all about just helping people bust the myth that they can't earn money for their great healing work and for their great spiritual beliefs. or, that they can't bring those beliefs into their workplace that they're currently in. That's a myth that I want to bust in that video. And then the third free video is really gorgeous, and it's really about how to carry the message, how to get the work out into the world. So if you, and how to do it unapologetically, to not feel like you have to hide behind a story, but you can really unapologetically carry these messages out into the world and make sure that your voice and your mission is heard in an authentic way. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So Soul Warriors, if you want access to these videos, you can go to bit.ly/Gabby SoulFeed, and you can sign up for these videos. And they're amazing. They're so good. And Gabby, so I want to ask you if you could give us a little bit of a teaser, because I ask this of myself all the time and of so many people in the world who want to, who, like you said, the responsibility, need to rise into leadership. What holds us back from becoming these leaders that we're capable of becoming, like you, like Deepak, like Dr. Wayne Dyer?
The only thing that holds us back is our thinking that we can't, right? It's not money that holds you back, or it's not time that holds you back, or it's not that there isn't a need or an audience for your work, because there really is.
For sure.
It's just a belief system that you're not good enough to carry a message, and a belief system that you're not good enough to be heard, or that you don't know enough. And a lot of what I talk about in the videos is about how if you have a story to tell, if you have an authentic story, then you have enough to share. If you have an experience of where you were and what you did to get to where you are today, then you have enough to become a leader and to share an authentic healing experience with somebody else. I dive deeply into that in video one. I think it blows people's minds to accept that their story is what heals. I think people really love video one. It's right out today. So yeah, they're going to grab it with you guys. So I think that anyone that's listening that likely in some way feels some type of limitation around whether or not they can step out or step up or be big in their message, and that video will bust the myth.
Yes, busted.
Video, yeah.
And guys,
And
these videos, and these videos are only up till September 29th. So make sure you go and get them now, because this training is great, and it's really already shifted things in our life. So we're just so excited to offer this to our Soul Warriors, and thank you for letting us be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm grateful that you guys are spreading this message with me, because I know you share that same mission, which is just to empower people, not just in their own lives, but empower them to bring these messages out into the world. And so thank you for that. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you.
Gorge.
Totes Mage Gorge. So something that you said really got to me, and I can't remember what it is right now.
Well, I feel like we're overwhelmed a little bit, and this is something I want to talk about.
Yeah, go.
Man, or woman, you're a woman, so I'll just say woman.
Whoa, man.
Whoa, man.
Okay.
It's overwhelming sometimes, like especially when you learn about how to design a seminar, how to do a book, how to do a live event, I feel like we're dealing with all these things we want to create. Do you deal with that, or how do you actually decide this is next, I know it, and all that stuff?
We have spiritual leader overwhelm,
Yes.
SLO. It's a thing now.
No, I do more than most anyone I know, I think, except for Deepak. But I think that I have had to actually pull back and create more of a schedule and create more of a timeline. I write my books while I'm still on the tour of the last book. I'm just in the middle of all of it. I'm working on my 6th book before I even have submitted my 5th book. It's just when there's content in you, it wants to come out. And so I think that you don't want to block it, but you want to harness it and hone it. And sometimes that comes with the beauty of being in this human experience, where we can actually sit down and create a schedule and a vision and a plan, and then wear it loosely and let it go when we feel like it's time to let it loose. And so you don't have to get stuck in a schedule, or you don't have to get stuck in a to-do list. It's an opportunity to-do list, right? And instead you can just kind of hone in your visions and decide what feels most exciting to you today. And I do recommend, when you have that inspiration overload, to actually pull back and try to create a little bit less. Now, if you were to look at the landscape of what I've been doing, you'd be like, that's a joke because you're not doing less, but I actually am. because I could be doing something brand new every single day if I didn't watch myself.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that just makes me think about how you began as a public speaker, because I was listening, I don't know, I've just been absorbing Gabby, especially in the last 2 weeks coming up to this interview. And I was listening to something you were talking about becoming a public speaker, and you just said, I just started speaking. I just started speaking for free and sharing my story and healing with my story. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be a speaker. I am a speaker. And the way hearing you talk about your beginnings gave me just that, like, oh, that's possible. And I just didn't see that it was possible before. So for the people who are listening, who also feel that they're called to speak, to share and heal with their stories, how would you, in both a spiritual sense and a practical sense, guide someone to start?
So Yogi Bhajan said, when the time is on, you start and the pressure will be off. So the first answer is just do it. Sit in front of one person and tell them a story. Just do it. Just
Nike,
say,
give us a check.
Yeah, exactly. just say, hey, just begin to put the message out. The number one tool, I think, to being a transformational speaker and a great public speaker is to have a very, very clear outline of what it is that you want to say, and really get that outline ingrained in your presence and in your being, and then get on the stage and let it all go. And I believe in being an untethered force of light when it comes to being a speaker. That's my original medicine, as my speaking coach has helped me, guided me to see, is that you have to have original medicine, the place within you that you are not surviving unless you are in that space. And I'm not alive unless I'm in that untethered force of light. And so if I get on that stage and that light is tethered in any way, then you will know, I will know, and I will not be able to, it won't matter what I say, because I could say everything perfectly, if you won't feel the experience of me. You won't feel, not me, of what I am allowing to come through me. So it's about being very clear about where you want to go and then letting it all go.
Yeah, no,
I love teaching public speaking. It's my favorite thing on the planet, and I teach it in my Spirit Junkie Masterclass training, and it is like the most fantastic, moving thing for me to teach. I love it so deeply. It's my greatest passion, is to teach public speaking. Yeah.
Well, and again, in your book, you say, my lecture rooms grew from 40 people to 100 within a few months. And that's just like wild. And I know in your course, you also cover some of like the more practical ways, like how do you actually like, contact a media or something like that. So could you give maybe just a little tip or tips around that for people who are just starting out?
Or for somebody who's ready to
or for somebody who's already tipping in like we are.
The biggest tip is it's not about you. And when it's not about you, and it's about you, and it's about the one individual in the audience or the 100, that's when your audience, whoever they may be, will find you. And A Course in Miracles teaches us that when the teacher is ready, the student appears. And what I believe is that each and every one of us has students that are waiting for us to accept the invitation to rise up. And what it's not about our ego or how many people are in the room or how much money you made at the door, or when it's not about that, and it's about, I am here to give the message, then it begins to take on a life of its own. Now, of course, I had visions and goals, and I had the desire, and I did a lot of work to carry the message. And I would tell everybody about my talks. Like, I'd be in the nail salon, come to my talk. I'd be in the gym, and I'd be like, I'm doing a talk, who wants to come? And so I would promote it, but I believe in sharing, not promoting. And I think when you love what you're doing, you're sharing about it, you're not selling it. And so again, if it's not about you and it's not about your ego wrapped up in it, then you're just sharing this amazing thing that you believe in. And that's when the world shows up for it. Yeah.
And do you ever find your ego kind of coming up and wanting to play some tricks, or maybe when you were starting out? Was it?
Yeah,
maybe?
when I was starting out, big time, for sure. Yeah. I was like,
Can you talk about that a little bit?
yeah, I think that there's a certain amount of that human ego that drove me in the beginning. But the funny thing is that once I learned to let it go, and obviously not completely, I'm a human being, so it comes up, but like once I really learned to let it go and not let it be about that, that's when things really began to take over. So I just think even if there was ego involved in any way, mainly what was involved was just this fierce desire to give people what I was learning,
Right.
and to have a good time doing it. And I don't know. I mean, I think over time, I just started to accept that this is what I signed up for. This is why I came at this time to do this work. And one, I want to have a good time doing it. And two, it's what I have to do. And my favorite quote is Joan of Arc, which is, "I am not afraid, I was born to do this." And that is what leads me.
So good.
So knowing where you are now, what did you wish you had known when you were first starting out on this journey?
Honestly, Shannon, I wouldn't change a thing.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Beautiful.
Everything I didn't know, I needed to not know because it gave me a lesson that I was meant to teach. That's a good tweet.
Get your virtual assistant on it.
That's a good tweet.
I love when that happens when I'm doing talks and in my head I go, damn, that's a good one. Someone write that down so I can tweet it later.
I usually say that out loud in the talk. Like, oh, everybody write that down. Do that.
Yeah.
Hashtag that shit.
You can like sense what's under 160 characters or whatever it is.
I love it. Well, I don't even know where to go from here. I mean, that just feels great.
Alex is having a moment of silence for this.
For once.
Yeah, seriously.
Actually, I know where I want to go. Because after now talking to you, I don't feel this way. And I feel a lot better about it. But sometimes I get scared that, I can't describe it, and I don't think you do it, but I think other people in this industry do it, where they're always focused on the light and always focused on, the light and all that, but they don't recognize the darkness, and it almost makes people feel like there's something wrong with them because they're not always experiencing the light. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. I agree with you, and that's actually something that comes up a lot in my training with others, which is that I am a student of a metaphysical text called A Course in Miracles, which I know you guys talk about. And the Course message is to look at the darkness and bring it to the light.
Right.
Not just pretend the darkness isn't there and talk to the light, right? It's witness your ego and bring it to spirit to be reinterpreted, reorganized, and reframed. And that's the practice, is asking moment to moment, how can my darkness be reorganized? And forgiving the darkness and forgiving yourself on a moment to moment basis for the thought, for the judgment, for the separation. And so the work is not about being in the light all the time. The work is about living in this high choice, this choice of leaning towards the light. And when we're in the darkness, we bring it to the light. And so if we're walking around like I'm only a spiritual person if I'm having positive experiences, then you're really, really missing the boat.
Yeah, and I see that misinterpreted all the time, and it kind of frustrates me a little bit.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that are commercializing these principles, and that's okay, because I guess that's a better trend than war, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah,
it's better. I'd rather people be out there, throwing blogs up about positive affirmations if that's the best they can do today, right? And not that we shouldn't be using affirmations, but throw this over it or throw that over it, and that may be where they're at. And the truth is, you have to understand that there may also be a person that's where they're at, and that's the only way that they can see these truths today. So your students find you where you are. Whereas if you guys are like, I want to go deeper, I want to touch the dark side, and I want to talk about the dark side, and I want to share the stories of how I got back to the light, that's where your audience is going to be ready to meet you today. So Look, if we're talking about love, however we're talking about love, we're doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's something I appreciate about your social media presence and just what you talk about is that there is this trend on social media to make everything look perfect and everything look beautiful. And you speak to the not so beautiful aspects and are honest. Like, you're just honest.
Yesterday I Instagrammed something. Let me see what it said. It was like, I posted one of my Spirit Junkie app messages, and I have like an app that has daily positive affirmations that I think we will use to start our day, right? But we want to use them in a way where we're not just like throwing them on top of something that's a problem. We want to witness the problems. This is the perfect example. This is what I wrote in the Instagram. I started my day complaining about stupid stuff and worrying about things I cannot control. Then my Spirit Junkie app gave me a spiritual smackdown and I chilled out. And the Spirit Junkie app said, I'm excited about what this day will bring. And so, what a different way to see the day than be in the day where it's like, I can't control the outcome of this thing that I'm worried about in technology. And my Apple, I remember walking out of the house and I was like, my Apple's mealy. And my husband's like, get over it. And I turned to my app and it said, I'm excited for what this day will bring. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a whole other way to show up.
I used that yesterday. That shifted me yesterday.
Well, and it's so meta because it's like, coming from you too. It's like coming from your creation.
It's very funny. I write 365 new affirmations every year. You don't get any repeats. So
I love that.
It's funny. And I look back and I'm like, that's a good one. Thanks.
Like, thanks. Totally, because it came from you in a different moment, in a different consciousness. It came around and it served you. It's So I don't want to underestimate something for a second, which is that we have an amazing teacher of A Course in Miracles on the line right now. And so yes, we've interviewed Marianne and we've talked about A Course in Miracles, and Alex and I are both on around day 31 of A Course in Miracles. And some people, feel like it's dense. Even sometimes I've tried to read it and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And so if someone's like, okay, A Course in Miracles, Jordan's talking about it, Gabby's talking about it, they're talking about it on SoulFeed. What is A Course in Miracles, and how do we open ourselves up to this text?
A Course in Miracles is a channeled text. It's a metaphysical text based on the principle that through the experience of forgiveness, we can unlearn fear and remember love. And it's a mental reconditioning to bring us back to the presence of our truth, which is love. And it's broken up into 3 different sections. There's a text and then a workbook of 365 days, which you guys are on day 30. Congratulations. And then there's the teacher's manual. And it's a self-taught curriculum. So you go to school with your inner guidance system and you choose how you're going to learn. And that's what's so groovy about it. That's why it worked for me, because I was like, oh, I don't like to go to school. I was like, I want to go to school for myself. And so I like free-flowing learning experiences. If someone's new to A Course in Miracles, the best place to start is to read Marianne's book, A Return to Love, which is really the clip notes for the course. And another great book by my teacher, Gary Renard. Marianne's book is kind of for everybody, I think. And Gary's book's a little bit more heady, but it's kind of amazing. And I read it in a night, and it's a huge book. And the next day I was reading the course like it was a newspaper. So I got to give Gary some love for his book, The Disappearance of the Universe. And he's a cool teacher. So that's a good one. And then there's a beautiful teacher named David Hoffmeister, who's a beautiful course teacher that I recommend. And these are people that have dedicated their lives to teaching A Course in Miracles. And my greatest teacher, Kenneth Wapnick, who is no longer with us, but he's my #1 teacher of A Course in Miracles.
Amazing. Well, Gabby, we want to thank you so much for coming on the SoulFeed. We know you got to pack and get to LA. You're all over the place, which is great. Not mentally, but all over the place physically. But yes, thank you so much for coming on. And we always like to end with this kind of last question. And that is, if you had 30 seconds to deliver your last speech to the world, what would it be?
Don't be afraid to look at your darkness, because in that truth, you will remember your light. Bam.
Boom! Mic drop.
Gabby, this has been such a pleasure. We're so excited to be partnering with you and sharing Spirit Junkie Masterclass and these videos. And thank you. You're a beautiful soul doing amazing work. And it's an honor to know you.
Honored to know you guys. Thank you. Keep it up.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the SoulFeed. Every week, Alex and I will release an exclusive interview with an inspirational thought leader, or we'll release a coaching session with someone who is taking charge of their life.
An idea is stronger when it's shared. So guys, download the SoulFeed, give us a review, and share with your friends, because this will allow us to keep giving you the best of what we have. So let's build this army of soul warriors together.
Thank you so much, guys. I am Shannon Algeo, and if you want to contact Alex, go to alexkip.com.
And I'm Alex Kip, and you can contact Shannon at shannonalgeo.com.
And as always, shoot us your comments, your questions, and your requests for coaching on the show at soulfeedpodcast@gmail.com.
See you soon, guys.
Peace.